won't be able to talk to me. There we go. Okay, story number 1. We have got The Prince's Breakfast. I told you it was a breakfast story, but it's also about a prince. In a faraway kingdom, a long time ago, when breakfast was served, the prince shouted, "No!" He turned up his nose at omelettes with cheese. He pooh-poohed the porridge, though his mother said, "Please." He sipped his hot chocolate. He ate his toast dry. But to all other offerings he said, "No, not I." "Alas," said the queen to her husband the king, "how can he grow when he won't eat a thing?" The king stirred his tea, then after one sip, "I have it!" he cried. "We shall go on a trip." The very next day preparations were started, and in less than a week the royal household departed. They journeyed in style to the city of Agra. "Our idlies are moist," beamed the Grand Mahara. His chef steamed the rice cakes with chutney on top. The king started eating and just couldn't stop. "So good," he declared. "Have a taste, boy. Try it." But the prince shook his head and said, "No, not I." "Perhaps," said their host, "a dosa will do. We can fit it with dal or potatoes for two for you." The queen took one forkful, the king sampled two. "Delicious," they said. "Just try a few. The spices are perfect. Come, don't be shy." But the prince shook his head and said, "No, not I." So the king declared, "To the west we shall go." He rolled out a map and announced, "Mexico." On the pier, people shouted, "Hello, buenos dias," and welcomed them warmly with trays of tortillas. Fried eggs, avocado, salsa, and cheese. "Por favor," said the king. "I'll have more if you please." "Muy bien," said the queen. "Why don't you try?" But the prince shook his head and said, "No, not I." "What shall we do?" the queen asked with a sigh. "My dear," said the king, "we shall go to Shanghai." They stayed at the home of a rich mandarin. "My chefs," he declared, "can indulge every whim. We've prepared a fine breakfast. We hope you'll enjoy. There's something for everyone, even your boy." "Does the prince care for congee? Here, try a pot. With our very best pickles." The king ate a lot. "This 1,000-year egg will make the prince strong. It will bring him good fortune and help him live long." "Yes, indeed," said the king. "Come on now, have a try." But the prince shook his head and said, "No, not I." That night in his room, the king sat up in bed. "We'll take him to Zambia. That's it," he said. "A safari will give him a huge appetite. Oh, fa la la, I know I am right." The prince loved adventures. He met his first giraffe. It licked the king's crown and made them all laugh. He woke up a lion that gave a great roar, then closed its eyes tight and continued to snore. He met herds of zebra and wild wildebeest. "And now," said the king, "it's time for our feast." Their breakfast was served on beautiful leaves with freshly fried plantain, the fruit from the trees. At the sight of the fresh fruit, the prince sealed his lips tight. The king was dismayed. He said, "This is not right. This plantain is perfect." The queen said, "Do try." But the prince shook his head and said, "No, not I." The queen was distraught. "Let's go home," she sighed. "Our boy is still picky, whatever we try." Just as she said this, a bright yellow-eyed old man said, "Perhaps I can help. I believe that I can." Then he pulled a red bottle from deep in his case, winked at the prince, and said, "Fancy a taste?" "What's this?" asked the prince. "It smells so delicious." "Oh dear," frowned the queen, "are you sure it's nutritious?" "I think," said the man, "there's no cause for alarm. A dash of this catsup will do him no harm. I eat it with everything, from rhubarb to rice." Said the prince, "it tastes really nice." He poured it on pancakes, he spread it on bread. The king was so happy he stood on his head. The queen gave a twirl and a trill of delight. Their banquet continued all day and all night. From that morning on, whatever he ate, the prince added catsup and cleaned up his plate. The end. And there is another prince story that is called The Prince's Bedtime. And one of the other things that we've spoken about for healthy eating is that we also need, well, for healthy living, is that we also need good amount of sleep. So breakfast is important. Now let's see how important bedtime is. In a faraway kingdom, a long time ago, when bedtime drew near, the prince shouted, "No!" The queen tucked her son in a quilt made of silk. The cook brought him cookies, the maid brought hot milk. Though everyone tried hard to make the prince sleep, the harder they tried, the more he would weep. "This cannot go on," said the king. "I am sure that somebody somewhere knows some sort of cure." So the next day he sent forth a royal request to the north, to the south, to the east and the west. "If anyone knows how to make the prince rest, please come at once to the royal address." The first who arrived was a bearded physician who promised his medicine would cure the condition. The prince closed his lips as tight as could be. "It's good," said his mother. "Just taste it and see." But the prince shook his head and pulled up the cover. The doctor said, "Watch, I'll give some to your mother." The queen took a spoonful. She said sweetly. "Delicious." She yawned and was instantly sleepy. The courtiers then followed their queen's fine example. They each took one sip, and that one sip was ample. They all licked their lips. It's so sweet. Then, quick as a wink, they all fell asleep, except for the prince, who heard them all snoring, and said with disgust, "How perfectly boring." The next night 5 dancers arrived with musicians. "We'll dance till he's tired. Come take your positions." The signal was given, the dancers began. Some say they danced, but really they ran. Around in a circle, first left and then right, they whirled and they twirled well into the night. They danced through the castle till 4:15. Then the king cried, "Enough! My feet are too sore." Then all of them groaned and collapsed on the floor, except for the prince, who begged, "Let's dance some more." The next to arrive at the old castle gate was a mustached magician in a high hat and cape. "Your grace," he announced, "with your kind permission, my hypnotic spells can cure this condition." "Proceed," The king yawned. Do what you can. I'll start with some tricks, the magician began. With a wave of his hand and a whisper of words, he brought forth from nowhere a flurry of birds, a banquet, a bouquet of roses, a rabbit, of course, and last but not least, he brought forth a horse. A horse in the castle! The queen screamed. No more! Guards! Called the king. Show him the door! Oh, why? The prince cried. Can't I have a ride? The next night at bedtime, the prince got a present. A feather-down quilt stuffed with feathers of pheasant. Sire, said the pheasant who brought him the present, the prince cannot sleep in a bed that's unpleasant. Try this, little boy. It's as soft as new snow. You'll drift off to dreamland. You'll love it, I know. The prince was so happy, he jumped in head first. He jumped in so hard that the feather quilt burst. Achoo! Wheezed the king. Achoo! Sneezed the queen. It took them all morning to get the place clean, but the prince was so tickled he giggled all night. He laughed and he laughed at the ludicrous sight. Night after night they cried to amuse him. Night after night there was endless confusion. Jugglers tried juggling, jesters made jesters, learned professors made countless conjectures. Nurse sang a lullaby, cook baked a cake, but alas, the small prince still stayed wide awake. Then one windy night, it was long after 8, the old woman came to the great palace gate. Your Majesties, please. She curtsied quite low. I'll get him to sleep if you'll just stop this show. And what do? Do you dance? Can you sing? What's in your bag? What did you bring? Of course I can dance and I do love to sing, but for bedtime, she said, I've the very best thing. Reaching into her basket, she pulled out a book and said to the prince, I'll read while you look. But where are the pictures? He asked in surprise. You'll see them, she said, if you just close your eyes. So that's what he did. He shut his eyes tight, and soon after that fell asleep for the night. The end. Oh, I like that one. That one was a fun one. Okay. Our next story is called The Only One Club. Oops, nope. Sorry, guys, I picked the wrong one. Let me find a better one. Okay. Okay. I am a cat. Simon encounters bigger cats. Each has something to say about Simon not being cat enough. Hello, my name is Simon. I'm a cat, just like you. Is he the same as these cats? Ha ha, hee, he, he, ho, ho, ho. A cat, said Lion. Don't be silly, dear boy. You can't be a cat because I'm a cat, and you are nothing like me at all. Cats have a mane and a tuft at the end of their tail, and when they roar, everybody trembles, for they are the kings of all beasts. A cat? Said Peter. But you are so short and chubby. Cats are tall and graceful creatures who run faster than all the animals in the world. You don't look like you can run very fast at all. A cat? Said Puma. That's ridiculous. Cats live in the mountains. That's why people call us mountain lions. that they leap far, jump high, and act tough. I know fuzzy little rabbits that look tougher than you. A cat? Cats are black, said Panther. They live in jungles and rainforests and sleep in trees. Have you ever seen a jungle? A cat? Said Tiger. That's very funny. You see, cats are very big and very strong and very, very orange. You are small and grey. You might be some kind of rat, but a cat? I don't think so. Simon was confused. Lion is the only one with a mane, he said. No one else is black like Panther or orange like Tiger. No one else can jump as high as Puma or run as fast as Cheetah. So how can you all be cats? Because we have so many things in common, said Lion. We all have small perky ears and flat noses, long whiskers and long tails. We have sharp teeth and claws and big eyes that can see in the dark. So do I, said Simon. I have all those things, only smaller. They all leaned in for a closer look. Ah, said Lion. Oh, said Puma. In that case, said Panther. It's very possible that, said Tiger. You're a cat, said Peter. So I'm part of the family, asked Simon. The big cats looked at one another. Yes, they all said together. And they spent the rest of the day pouncing and prowling, prancing and playing, like cats of all sizes do. The end. Oh, I like that one. That was a fun one. Okay. Next, we're going to read You're Quacked. Have you heard about the duck? One day, a duck was out for a walk. She walked up to one very big elephant who was giving himself a shower. Hey, duck, you're quacked, said the elephant. But the duck didn't listen. She just said, quack, and kept walking until she saw two giraffes eating leaves from a treetop. She stared up at the giraffes until they looked down and said, You're quacked. But the duck didn't listen. She just said, quack, and kept walking until she walked up to three horses wandering near the woods. The duck thought the horses were lost. You're quacked, they told the duck. But the duck didn't listen. She just said, quack, and kept walking until she saw four pigs rolling in the mud. The pigs made the duck laugh. The pigs thought it was funny that the duck thought they were funny. They laughed at the duck and said, You're quacked. But the duck didn't listen. She just said, quack, and kept walking until she saw how many monkeys did she see? Let's count them. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 monkeys jumping on a bed. The duck hoped the monkeys would not fall and bump their heads. You're quacked, said the monkeys. But the duck didn't listen. She just said, quack, and kept walking until she saw 6 pink flamingos standing on one leg. The duck wondered what the other leg was for. The flamingo said, You're quacked. But the duck didn't listen. She just said, quack, and kept walking until she saw 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 grasshoppers playing a symphony. The grasshoppers played for a while. Then they saw the duck listening to them, and said, "You're quacked." But the duck, "Oh, I'm sorry, Teacher Lisa is yawning today." She just said, "Quack," and kept walking until she saw 8 spiders, eight-legged spiders, making one gigantic web. The duck thought the web was really pretty. The spiders thought the duck was pretty weird. "You're quacked," they told the duck. But the duck didn't listen. She just said, "Quack," and kept walking until she saw 9 bluebirds on a wire singing a bluebird song. The duck stopped to listen. The birds stopped to say, "You're quacked." But the duck didn't listen. She just said, "Quack," and kept walking. Have a look here. Until she saw 10 ducks walking in a row. The ducks looked like they were really having fun walking. "Quack," they said to the duck. "Quack," the duck said back. And the 11 ducks kept walking and walking and walking and quacking and quacking and walking and quacking and quacking and walking, because that is what ducks like to do. The end. I like that one. That one was fun. Okay. Got another one. Let's try this. Okay. Not quite what I was looking for. Okay, this story is called Layla. I wonder what animal is Layla, guys? A monkey. Layla has a mother and a father and 9 aunts and 23 cousins. That's too many. They always want to hug and kiss her. Yuck! Mwah! They always want to groom her. She's not even dirty. They are always busy, always fussy, always noisy. She's trying to take a nap. So Layla ran away. She ran until she couldn't see them anymore. She ran and ran until she couldn't smell them anymore. She ran and ran and ran until she couldn't hear them anymore. It was so quiet. Nothing around but Layla and some sharp rocks. Ouch! And a lizard. Eep! I'm Layla. What's your name? The lizard doesn't answer. I hurt my foot. Do you want to kiss it better? The lizard opened one eye. Shh, it said. I'm busy. You're not doing anything, said Layla. I'm very busy doing nothing. How do you do nothing? Well, said the lizard, to do nothing, you sit perfectly still. Feel the sun on your skin. Listen to the leaves rustling in the wind and the insects buzzing in the air, and think of nothing at all. Now close your eyes. When Layla opened her eyes, the lizard was in the same spot, but the sun was on the other side of the sky. She suddenly missed her family. It was time to go home. Can I come back and do nothing with you again? She asked. You can, said the lizard as he closed his eyes. I'm always around. Layla turned around and ran. She ran until she could hear them again. She ran until she could smell them again. She ran and ran and ran until she could see them again. They were her family. She told them about her adventure. I ran and ran. It was so hot. The grass was this tall. She told them she met a lizard. He was this big. Was he really that big? They thought she was very brave and wanted to know if she was all right. Then she remembered. I hurt my foot. Do you want to kiss it better? They all wanted to kiss it better. That night, in her mother's arms, Layla didn't mind the noise. She remembered the sun and the breeze, the leaves and the insects, and the lizard's voice telling her to close her eyes and think of nothing at all. But from then on, whenever it got a bit too much, she went to see the lizard, and the lizard was always there. The end. Okay. Get me out of this book! I'm Max. I'm a bookmark who used to be scared to death of books. The pictures freaked me out. When I was put on a page with a king cobra, I couldn't look, and I shook, and I screamed, "Get me out of this book!" And no one heard, and I was trapped. That's when I snapped and went back to school for a special bookmark badge. I had to learn how to handle the scariest pictures in the scariest books. My trainer was tough. He taught me rules and tools for looking right at scary. Then he put me in a book on a page with a shark. It had giant white teeth, and it was swimming toward my face. I could almost feel the bites, and my heart went boom da boom da boom da boom da. I couldn't look, and I shook, and I screamed, "Get me out of this book!" And then I remembered number 1 of the rules and tools. Breathe deeply. Deep breath in, deep breath out. Deep breath in, deep breath out. I kept reading and breathing and breathing and breathing until my heart slowed down to da boom, da boom, da boom. And I could look past the teeth to the eyes of the shark and say, "You're just a picture and you can't hurt me." Creepy was next. When I was put on a page with hundreds of cockroaches crawling toward me like an army, I couldn't look, and I shook and I screamed, "Get me out of this book!" And then I remembered number 2 of the rules and tools. Make a plan. I decided to think up a song and sing really loudly. Macaroni, macaroni, 1, 2, 3. You're not real and you can't hurt me. I kept singing and singing and singing and singing until I was able to open my eyes very slowly and look right at those cockroaches. The next book was haunted. I was put on a page that was darker than dark, and I knew spooky and dead things were hiding there. I couldn't look, and I shook, and I screamed, "Get me out of this book!" But I remembered number 3 of the rules and tools. Think good thoughts. I will get through this dark page, I said to myself. If other bookmarks can do it, I can too. I couldn't see anything at all, so I decided to practice. What would I do if a 10-foot skeleton came out of the dark and was ready to attack me? I'd punch him, and I'd watch his bones fall into a pile on the ground. They would look so silly that I'd start laughing and laughing and laughing. Whoops. When I stopped practicing, realizing I was still all alone in the dark, but I realized that the good thoughts were right there to help me. I graduated from bookmark school and I loved my special bookmark badge. I had learned rules and tools, and now I wanted to go into the scariest pictures in the scariest books, the scariest book ever. Before long, I found myself in a closet, a dark closet, a locked closet. I was trapped inside with a monster that had 7 hairy heads. I wanted to freak out. But I remembered that I had rules and tools, and I knew what to do. I started to breathe deeply. Breathe in, breathe out. Breathe in, breathe out. Until I was feeling calm. I made a plan. I stood up very tall and pretended I was not afraid. I thought good thoughts. I could do this. I could handle this. I would be all right. I looked right at the 14 eyes of the 7 heads. One head was looking up, one head was looking down, one head was halfway around. One head was screaming, one head was trembling, one head was closing its eyes, one head was sobbing big gooey-eyed tears. And that's when I realized that the big hairy monster with all those heads was afraid of the dark closet too. I yelled at the heads, "Don't be afraid! Tomorrow someone will turn the page in the book and you'll get out and everything will be okay." And then I knew that I would be okay too, even in the scariest pictures, in the scariest books, because the rules and the tools really worked. The end. Okay, everybody. Thank you for joining me for story time. I enjoyed all those stories and I hope that you did too. And I will see you tomorrow morning for our morning ring. And tomorrow is Thursday. So I'm going to show you how to do computers and maybe you will get a chance to do a little bit of computers at home. To do computers at home, you will need your little computer card that I put on your bags. Okay, I will see you all tomorrow. Goodbye, everybody.